The story of Moses and when God transformed slaves into pilgrims of the promise. Before there was a free people, there was a forgotten people. Before the sea was opened, there were chains tightening weary wrists. Israel was born in a foreign land, grew up under shouts, and fell asleep listening to whips. Egypt, which was once a refuge, became a prison. Sweat became a language, pain a routine. But God never writes stories only with what the eyes can see. While Pharaoh counted bricks and controlled lives, heaven was preparing a detail too small to frighten an empire. A child, a cry, a basket entrusted to the waters. Where the decree spoke of death, God wrote a future. The Nile, accustomed to carrying bodies, that day carried destiny. The baby floated among the reeds, not by chance, but by promise. And when Pharaoh's daughter opened that basket, the heart of Egypt beat differently. The liberator was raised inside the palace of the oppressor. Moses grew up surrounded by gold, yet carrying in his blood the memory of his people's pain. He learned the wisdom of scholars, the language of the powerful, the strategies of war, but none of these could silence the calling echoing within him, until one day the cry of injustice spoke louder. A Hebrew being beaten, a thoughtless blow, a body fallen in the sand. The prince became a fugitive, the palace became the past, and Moses ran, not only from Pharaoh but from himself. The desert received him without applause. There were no crowns there, only silence. No thrones, only sheep. 40 years passed like a dry wind. The man who thought he was someone learned to be no one. But God never wastes deserts. Moses, on Mount Horeb. The ordinary was interrupted by the impossible, a flame that burned without consuming. A fire that did not destroy but called. The name Egypt tried to erase was spoken by the Eternal. Remove your sandals. Ordinary ground became holy. There, God revealed something greater than a calling. He revealed His presence. I have seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry, and I have come down to deliver them. And then God did the unthinkable. He chose a wounded shepherd to confront an empire. Moses returned to Egypt not as a prince but as one sent, not with an army but with a staff, not with eloquence but with the authority of heaven. Before Pharaoh, pride met its limit. Each plague was a reminder, no stone God can stand against the living God. Water turned to blood, the sky grew dark, the land groaned, and still the hardened heart resisted, until the night when silence was broken by crying. The blood on the doorposts made the difference. Death passed over and life remained. Israel went out, not as slaves fleeing, but as a people being born. The sea tried to block the way. The army tried to stop the advance. But when God commands you to move, the impossible moves. The waters opened. Dry ground appeared where there had only been fear. The same sea that liberated also buried the oppressor. In the desert, God taught that freedom is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of God. Manna fell from heaven, a fire protected by night. At Sinai, water flowed from the rock. God did not deliver only laws, He delivered identity. A cloud guided by day. I am the Lord who brought you out of slavery. Freedom without direction turns into chaos. So God wrote His will on stone and desired to write it on the heart. Moses never entered the promised land, but he entered history as a friend of God, because sometimes our mission is not to arrive, but to prepare. And this story did not end in the desert. It continues whenever someone chooses to trust, whenever someone confronts their own pharaohs, whenever someone believes that God still opens paths where there is only sea. If God did this with Moses, what can He not do with you?